What if I told you that I taught myself English when I was 13 and you can too? How I did that is gonna blow your mind. And I know that for some people, judging by my accent, my thick accent, that's pretty obvious that English is not my first language, but others, it's not. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you all about this and how you can too learn a new language from scratch. I was literally 13 when I first learned how to fluently speak English. One of the many times that I told people that, they were kind of shocked because they didn't know that was possible. But for me, I always saw English as an opportunity of not only understanding my favorite songs, but also singing them. I that time only had music as something that would connect me with the outside world because my parents, they were so religious. The TV was not allowed to be turned on, or watching movies, or not having that many contact with the people from the area that I grew up in. So I had to find ways to connect myself with other things that would still be able to see the bigger picture, to see beyond I had in my mind when I was growing up in this little town in Brazil. And yeah, Brazil is actually where I was born and raised. If you didn't know that, I think I have mentioned that at some point in many of my videos. But if you just got to my channel, welcome. I'm Jose. In today's videos, I'm gonna share with you guys what I did to learn English at the age of 13 and how that actually changed my life. But first, this is not alcohol. This is a cider. This is a strawberry and lime premium cider. Okay, I think I paid $1 for this. Yeah, so I'm trying to. If you're watching this at home, please don't do this. Please do not open any bottle the way I'm doing right now. But the only reason that I'm doing this is because I don't have a can opener right here with me, so I had to do that. Yeah. Oh, it smells nice. But yeah, back to the story. So imagine growing up in a big family with a lot of siblings. When I mean siblings, I mean cousins, aunties, and the whole big family that you usually have in Latin America countries such as Brazil. Because of that, the Brazilian culture was very, very deep and strong, and within the things that we were doing. And I had access to the radio because I did not have a cell phone. I could always turn the radio on and listen to the many 10, top 50 songs that were playing in the whole country, right? Like a national-wide kind of charts that was happening at the time. And this one radio station called Mix, which I think they still run up until this day, they were playing and also giving a lot of space to the mainstream artists in the USA. So you could say Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, the Jonas Brothers, also rock pop bands like 30 Seconds to Mars, Green Day, the Beatles, you could say. But I had a lot of influence from this kind of musics and bands at the time. And because I was so fascinated with the music, with the flow, with the whole thing being so made to make you repeat and also put it on replay all day, the music, I was like, okay, I want to know what they are talking about. I want to know what they're saying. And I want to be able to understand not only the meaning, but I want to be able to kind of see my life through their eyes. Because of that, I started researching the lyrics of the song. So because I did not have a cell phone, I could only go to this place where you could, where we used to call it LAN house. In a LAN house, they used to have these computers where you pay to have access for an hour. It was pretty cheap actually when you think about it. But that's how I got access to the internet because my mom gave me a little bit of money just to get something to eat, like a snack time when I was going to school. And I chose many days to not spend on food but spend on getting access to the internet. So I was going to those places to pay to get access to the internet. I remember I would see the lyrics on the screen, on the laptop screen, and I would write them in my notebook. I was like, okay, if I do have an hour and I wanna maybe pick 10 songs that I like to get the lyrics because they've been playing in my head for so long, I'm gonna choose these 10 and I'm gonna write the lyrics down in my notebook because I want to hear how how the singer is singing the song, he's pronouncing and announcing the words that I want to be able to mimic the same way that he was doing. So a lot of the songs, and I remember one of the most popular songs that I think I had back then was Hey Jude from the Beatles. And I remember that I copied the lyrics into my notebook and I was like, okay, this is a really good song. And I think I do understand the words, but I want to be able to read them. I had the lyrics wrote down on my notebook. I made sure that on the other half of the page, I had the translation into Portuguese so that I could not only repeat the words, but I could understand what I was saying because it would make much more sense if I knew what I was talking about, right? So I had all these words in my notebook written down, and I was like, okay, I know that Hey Jude is Olá Judy, let's say in Portuguese. So I know that he's talking to someone. And because he's talking to someone, I know that hey is a way that you can say hi to people. So the process of me learning the lyrics of the song taught me not only how to sing that song, but also how to talk to people. And I remember that I started using the hey with people. So I was always going to say, hey, Maria, hey, Jose, hey, John, blah, 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 because that was something that I was learning and I was implementing into my day to day life. One of the many reasons why I was able to learn so fast that language was because I was implementing a lot of the words into my day to day life and I was talking to people, applying those words into the way that I could not only see them talking to me, but it would make sense for them to understand that I was making the effort, I was walking the extra mile to try to talk and to speak in another language. So the phase number one was writing down the lyrics, which I did. Phase number two, you could say, was translating that into Portuguese. And phase number three was actually singing the words. And at that time, I didn't want it to be perfect because I was still learning the meaning behind those words, but also how they would apply into the song. So let's say that the song was Hey Jude, don't be sad. I don't remember the words as of right now, but let's say that Paul McCartney was like, Hey Jude, don't be sad. Okay, I'm supposing, right? I might be totally wrong, but what I'm trying to say. So when I was reading Hey Jude, don't be sad, I was trying to understand what don't be sad mean, like each word. I was going to break down the parts of the sentence so I could understand, okay, if don't means no, like do not be sad, he's asking someone else to not be unhappy, if that makes sense. So to look at words that could have a similar sound or even similar meaning so that I could swap the words into something else. So instead of Jude, don't be sad, I could say Jude, do not be unhappy. One of the things that I got to the point of learning was like, okay, if I can and also if I'm able to manage switching and swapping the words, maybe that's something really deeper than what I'm just reading to this lyric. That made me go further into reading books in English, and because I was pretty basic with my vocabulary, I also had right beside me a vocabulary from English to Portuguese. One way that I had to understand what I was talking about was that if I run into a word that I didn't know the meaning, right there at that very same time, I was gonna take my vocabulary and I was gonna go, okay, I don't know this word, so let me search it. And when I got to the point that I knew what the word was about, what was the meaning of that word, if the sentence is talking about someone that, let's say, for the sake of the example, is going to college in 2 years, and when I say college, it can be read as a place where you go to study when you hit 16, 17, or 18. I can assimilate that and I can see the similarity with that with my local educational system. So I was gonna apply the words that I was learning into my day to day. Remember, I'm gonna keep repeating myself because that makes sense to me, right? That made a deep sense to me because I was not only learning new words, but I was understanding how they would be put into my day to day. Let's say John is going to college in 2 years. So I knew that John is right now not in college, so he would be in college. But what comes before college? And that also made me try to research words related to education and going to school so I could understand that he's going to college in 2 years, but what is the type of school that he's attending now? The fact that he was attending some type of school, but that was not college because that was going to be in 2 years, that also made me learn not just a sentence, but also what John was doing before that. Does that make sense? I hope so. The sun is almost setting down. I'm literally sitting at the park, but I just found this time of the day to be so beautiful, especially because there is no one around me. And the thing with the city that I'm in right now is that you don't get anyone outside of their houses or even like walk down the street past 6 p.m., which is totally strange, right? You don't get to see no one. That's so strange. If I were in New York City, it doesn't matter the day, the time of the day, there was always going to be people walking down the streets, going home from the bar, just hanging out by themselves or with a group. And right now, you don't get to see that. I think that could be also because the population in Europe is aging, especially in Italy, which I saw that. But I think that's just a factor of culture that people have in their countries, cities, towns. Phase number five would be just talking to people. I know that throughout my journey of learning this new language, I had a couple of possibilities spending time in front of the computer. And because you had access to the internet, you could talk to someone that was literally from across the ocean. And that was something that would make you be able to talk to people that was maybe in the United States, maybe in Italy, maybe in England. Having the door, the virtual door would allow you to be close to that kind of thing. But also that's something that many people don't realize is that the possibility that you could have is just by being able to get access to that kind of stuff. The same things with books, because many people they do not realize that you can actually do that just by having access. And when I say books, you could actually do it with any type of genre. Me, personally, I was always gonna choose romance just because I liked the thrill of knowing that there was a good guy, a bad guy, and they would always gonna make the good guy look good at the end, and he was always gonna make it. But also how always the story was unfolding. So a lot of those situations was like, okay, I can continue to do my research and also read a lot of books, as many books I can in this period of time, so I have a rich vocabulary and I know what different words I can use in a sense. But the phase number five, which is the last one that I'm explaining to you, is that in my case, I had access to the internet, but not in the same ways that you have right now with the smartphone that you can literally go online and meet people really quickly in a matter of seconds. When I was 13, 14, the only way to actually connect with people was doing Skype calls, video calls, or you could just like do voice calls to get to the point that you were able to meet someone and be friends with them, and they were from a different country than you, and also you could practice English. Was really difficult because again, we did not have Instagram, we did not have TikTok, we did not have all these platforms that enables you to reach out to anyone anywhere at any time. So right now I'm gonna adapt my way of learning, the phase number five, to nowadays. And there are a lot of communities on Facebook, on Instagram, that you can reach out to people and you can have that sense of, okay, let's learn and also let's practice English in a way that we can improve ourselves, right? And I have been part of a few groups on Facebook that people use together and just have a little 30 to 60 minutes just talking. So just to have some time talking to each other and just to make sure that they were learning some words. Another great example of doing that is a book club. I mean, I was not part of any clubs at that point that had the idea of gathering to just like talk about any type of book because they were all reading the same book at the same time. But I thought that that's a possibility. You can definitely do that in a way that if that applies to you, that's also something that you can do. But also, I think that the biggest and the most traditional way of talking to people and getting to know them and just improving your English skills is just by walking outside, just like I'm doing right now. I had this idea of that I could come to the park. I was not gonna run into anybody, and I think you guys saw already. There's a couple people passing by, and that's not only testing and also making me more confident in talking to the camera when there's people around, but that's also something that you can take advantage and do when you want to improve your English skills. And one of the things that I heard in one of the many interviews that I got into these past few days was that, oh wow, where did you learn English? Because your English is excellent. And when I told the recruiter that I learned by myself, I was really listening to music and reading books. They were like, I didn't know that was possible. And I was like, yeah, imagine growing up in a Latin America country with no access to internet at the beginning, having no access to people that actually spoke the language. So you have to become creative. And one of the things that I want you guys to understand is that creativity is all about how you are able to do the most with the least amount of resources that you have. Okay, and I'm gonna say it again. Creativity is all about doing the most with the least amount of resources. And that, when you finally get that, I mean, that's totally mind blowing. That really worked for me just by having a hold of that. Right now, I can say that you can just like try to do travels from time to time. I know that's not really cheap to do, but if you do have the ability like to save money, to save up some money for some time and also go on a trip that you're gonna eventually meet people, especially if you want to learn English, you can choose a few countries that you can do that. If I was gonna choose any country to do that, I would say England. Not because I'm in England right now, but because it's more accessible than going to the United States. I think, in my opinion, okay, we can talk about that later on, but I think that the possibility of you running into someone else that is like totally different than the English that you get to speak at the moment is totally mind blowing because you can expect to learn and also to speak the language in the American accent, but if you do have the opportunity to run into and also having conversation with someone whose English is like from the UK, from Australia, is totally different than we were supposed to be or expect that to be. That's gonna blow your mind because you are gonna challenge yourself to understand the words, the way the words are pronounced in a different way than you would expect it to be. And also that is gonna challenge you to understand, okay, the American way of saying and also speaking English is one way, but we have multiple ways of actually doing that. And if this video was somewhat helpful for you, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know how did you guys learn English? Was it somewhat like the experience that I had? I want to know. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.